Tier lists are great. Great for listing a whole ton of ships you aren't going to use. So instead we built loadouts for a short list of ships that best handle specific tasks in the verse and talk about the playstyles that'll help you make the most out of them. This is the top 3 ship builds for everything at University of Stanton. Class is in session. Did you know this video was picked by our community this past June? During the first half of every month, we run a vote for our generous YouTube and Patreon backers to choose a topic that interests them the most. If we have a tie, we let the rest of the Discord community break it, and then a new video is born. If you like the idea of having a hand in picking the guides that interest you, please consider supporting University of Stanton on YouTube membership or Patreon, and as an extra thank you, we'll post your Star Citizen referral code at the end of our videos so new players can get a great start with 5,000 bonus UEC. We've chosen 3 of the best ship choices for a number of purposes listed below. Each of these selections will have reasons they are more or less favored, and because some ships' descriptions manage to set false expectations, we'll touch on a few to explain why we didn't choose them. Top 3 also doesn't mean first, second, and third place, because sometimes there are different ways to go about something. I'm presenting the 3 best options set apart based on priorities. While we'll talk about the content of the builds, we won't be spending time on prices or purchase locations. The Urkel builds will be posted in the comments below, and you can build your own shopping list by clicking on the non-stock items to cart button right under the ship's picture on Urkel. Feel free to use the chapters to skip ahead to any sections that interest you the most. Now let's get started. Box or delivery missions, on the rare occasion they fucking work, will rely on one thing and one thing alone beyond the ability to carry a few small physical items or small SCU loads: speed in and out of atmosphere. My personal preference for this category is our old reliable, the best starter among starter ships, the Aegis Avenger Titan, or Avenger series since they share the same courier tuning stats. With its 1425 nav speed, 280 SCM, and 610 boosted SCM, these are among the fastest ships with a space to carry the goods and hold a respectable 27.6 Gs forward boosted. Another solid choice at nearly the same top speeds is the Origin 315P, and while this title could extend to really any of the 100 through 300 series Origin ships, the 315P sports the largest actual cargo area in its, bellyvator, and the largest quantum fuel tank, making its reach for these missions just a little more comfortable if you should need it. Want to optimize on forward acceleration for pushing through soup atmosphere? All of these are good choices, and the 325A caps out the top of the pile with a narrow 27.9 Gs boosted. Looking ahead to the possible cargo missions of 3.24, this one will serve perfectly in the event that missions for running 12 SCU or less end up profitable, alongside the Avenger Titan, which can carry 8. Building either of these ships out for speed means building for optimized mass reduction. We're going to swap in 2 of the competition B-grade Zero Rush coolers. The power plant will be the stealth A-grade Slipstream, and finally the shields will be the competition C Target. Of course, we'll be going with our favorite Voyage Quantum Drive. Since this is more likely to be a PvE build, we'll go with the M6A and M5A laser cannons on the hardpoints, and swapping the missile racks for size 1s with Task Force 1 or Pioneer 1 missiles. Feeling extra spicy and want to really commit to the part? Streamline by pulling off all the weapon gimbals and missile racks and taking the Lumacore for your power plant instead. We really have this category covered already, but let's play pretend for a moment as we select our third ship and assume good cargo missions will need more than 12 SCU, but not as much as the massive haulers, something in the 100 SCU range, sort of like what we saw in the effort versus reward example on Star Citizen Live recently. Well, the answer to this problem surprised me, but didn't impress me. The Crusader Mercury Star Runner actually carries, narrowly, the best speeds of any ship with that kind of capacity at 205 SCM, 410 boosted, and 1200 nav. Boosted acceleration caps out at 9.4 even in vacuum, less than half of our other couriers, so expect thick atmosphere to really slow you down. Don't get me wrong, I think the MSR is an absolute piece of shit, but for this particular niche purpose, you're not going to find anything faster. Just remember the marathon from the pilot seat to the back ramp adds 3 parsecs when you time your Kessel runs. Our loadout for the MSR is going to feature our best chosen components to hedge against damage to the coolers and power plants: Genoas, snowpacks, halters. With an XL1, we know this thing will at least get from point to point fast. The pilot-controlled guns are just a pair of size 3s, but we'll slap on omniskis and at least pretend the slots are useful. And of course we'll swap the missile racks with 341s with Task Force or Pioneer 1s. I almost left this section lacking. The simple fact is, with bulk cargo trading, speed is no longer a consideration. The only thing that matters is cargo volume with the ability to land and load at any location, which means the C2 Hercules, which means slapping on our component guide's best size 3 coolers, power plants, shields, and TS2 quantum drive. The only thing bigger is the MISC Hull C, which barely works and has no real access to valuable commodities. The other bulk transport ships don't exist yet, and anything with a smaller cargo hold than the C2 is just role-playing for flavor. There's nothing else to consider. Until you realize that not everyone has the C2, and if you're working with AUEC rather than pledging, you'll have a lot of trading to do to work your way up to it. So our second 2 ships will lay out a path to get you to the Hercules. We'll start that journey with the MISC Hull A, the most accessible and cost-effective for new players at 1.7 million AUEC for the 64 SCU it can carry. We'll swap in the established best from our component guide, with the most important part being the Stealth A Spectre drive. The Hull A has an obscenely large 10,000 liter quantum fuel tank, allowing you to choose the fastest drive possible with almost no concern about refueling. From here, you can go all the way to the 18 million needed for the C2, or make another stop for fun and pick up the MISC Freelancer Max for 4.3 million, almost doubling your hauling capacity to 120 SCU. Are there other options along the way? Sure, but they cost you a lot more of your capital. Both of these options will comfortably get you to the C2 with minimal expenditure along the way. For the Freelancer Max, we'll similarly want the XL1 quantum drive and best size 2 components. This absolute hog is not going to fight, but the pilot-controlled Omniski cannons are fine, and we'll replace the missile racks with all size 481 or 341s to pack task forces or pioneers anyway. Ground mercenary and rescue missions should be as simple as zipping in and zipping out, just like delivery missions, right? Well, if you only stick to the creature hunting missions, missions to derelict sites, protect site or provide backup bunker missions, or missions inside of friendly UGFs, that's true. Nothing will attack you and you can park right at the entrance. You could probably even use one of our box runners above. But if you're doing any mercenary missions you can get your hands on, which can be critical to grinding out fast rep, you'll have to deal with turrets at some point. We've got both situations covered. For safe approach ground missions, the Avenger Titan still reigns. We'll change this loadout up to give you, believe it or not, the option to take out a single bunker turret if you absolutely have to, by adding a set of M6A and M5A cannons. Not only can some creative use of terrain cover and shield recharge allow you to clear your path, but you can top NPCs at will to complete derelict kill missions, usually, without getting out of your ship. If CIG release a patch that fixes the C788 cannon with its hilarious blast radius, and you run those missions for rep in between bunkers, that makes an instant candidate for replacing the nose gun. Because you're operating at points of interest where NPCs from other people's missions might spawn, we're going to err on the side of caution with this build and go with the best options from our guide to components, which could be the difference in making a last-second getaway after a surprise missile hit. This includes the Ultraflow coolers, Breton power plant, Mirage shields, and Voyage quantum drive. We're also going to slap on the M6A and M5A laser cannons for dealing with those NPCs or with bunker turrets, but beware if the site has more than one. For harder targets, it's time to go up in size, and there are no reasons for a half measure here. The Drake Corsair is your choice. Its size 3, 5 CA Akura shield, 4 M7A and 2 M6A cannons, which all come stock, give you room to comfortably drop in on a bunker, stabilize, and take each turret out with a couple of clicks. Just nudge your shield direction forward a tick or two with the numpad 8 key, set the whole power triangle to shields, and you're good to root out the resistance. This not only applies to bunkers, but to the new UGFs. Swing in fast behind the tallest side, and you have a safe pocket from which to engage each turret on the whole thing if it doesn't want you to land. And I mean, you could load a vehicle in the back and drive there, but come on, a waste of time when you can pop the turrets and just park right out front. The Corsair also remains my top recommendation if you're running the illegal variants of the mission, such as Vaughn or Tar Pits. Not only do you want to plow through air and ground targets alike quickly, but if a bounty hunter comes after your crime stat, you either need to get out quick or hit them hard and fast so there's not much of a fight. If you're expecting PvP, a swap of the main guns to Omniskis or Light Strikes could be advised, and be aware of what's coming after you. The Corsair is highly vulnerable to missiles. None of the Corsair's stock components are defective, you'll just want to replace the quantum drive with the XL1, and to fully optimize the power and cooling output to ensure survivability against splash damage, grab 2 Genoa power plants and 2 snowpack coolers. While they won't be much use for this purpose, it never hurts to put a full rack of Task Force or Pioneer Size 1 missiles. And hang on to this ship for a wide variety of other purposes. You're going to see it again in this list. A lot. But if you're a sucker for aesthetics, I know some of y'all can't stand Drake, and appreciate the overkill approach, the Crusader A2 Hercules gives you another, more decisive option for countering resistance on the ground, blowing it all the f*** up. You have 4 bombs, any one of which, if placed correctly, will wipe all the turrets from a bunker in one fell swoop. For UGFs, this needs some testing that I haven't had the opportunity to do. But another plus is that with 2 size 3 shields and a pair of size 5 cannons, you still have a solid option to gunfight the turrets just like you can with the Corsair, especially if you're bringing friends to the bunker. There are double size 5 turrets 2 friends can control, giving you 6 total size 5 guns on ground targets and anything nearby that happens to mess with you. Load the A2 up with M-series laser cannons on all turrets, 5 CA Akura shields, Durango power plants, Chillmax coolers, and a TS2 quantum drive. This category also encompassed rescue missions because these happen in the same kind of places, and thus need the same kind of approach to get there, so why no ships with a medical bed? Well, if you're really attached to the idea, you can always pick up an Ursa Medical and park it in the back of one of these larger ships, but when you have a station with full medical services a 60-second jump away, what's the point? Take your client to the nearest station, hobble them to the medical center, and just get it all fixed up at once and save yourself the time, hassle, and potential explosions of screwing around loading a vehicle that'll only do part of the job anyway. There are a large number of missions, both legal and criminal, that have you fighting multiple ships, either in atmosphere or in space, and while typically all you have to do is kill the marked target, it can be worthwhile to soft death all of them and search for moderate amounts of cargo, especially in the illegal quest lines. Between this reality and the fact that overwhelming firepower is the fastest, best way through, yes, even if the opposition are in smaller fighter-sized craft, we need to lean towards the large ships with big guns. And you don't get bigger guns or more guns than you do with the Drake Corsair. From the lowest to the highest level, this is hands down the best ship for all space PvE. I probably know what you're thinking, and you're not alone. I hear all the time that the Corsair, like other big ships, is too slow and too unwieldy for most people's tastes. They come to Star Citizen expecting to fly nimble fighters, and this breaks that fantasy. To that, all I can say is trust me and get good. Yes, this handles slowly, but it's something you can and should learn to manage. Bring these big ships under control and they will kill your targets and scoop their loot more quickly than anything faster you could possibly fly. The Corsair also remains my top recommendation if you're running the illegal variants of missions such as Vaughn solo. Not only do you want to plow through air and ground targets alike quickly, but if a bounty hunter comes after your crime stat, you either need to get on the road quick or hit them hard and fast so there's not much of a fight. If you're expecting PvP, a swap to the main guns to Omniskis or Light Strikes could be advised, depending on what you end up fighting. The RSI Constellation Andromeda is a sleek and close second to the Corsair. It retains the 4 main pilot-controlled size 5 cannons, which you'll need to replace with M7As, and an excellent bespoke missile bay with 28 size 1 and 24 size 2 missiles, which we'll replace with EMs, Task Force or Pioneer 1s, and Dominator 2s. The last time we picked the Crusader A2 Hercules, it was mostly for its bombs. Here we won't have much use for them, but while all 3 Hercules variants will work fine for this, the A2 actually has higher body and nose hit points than the C2 and M2 variants, making it the most ideal of the 3 for this purpose. As I mentioned under ground mercenary missions, the A2 is also the best choice if you have a couple of friends joining you for the ride, since all 3 of you will have access to some big guns. Not only are the extra sets of hands useful for loading any cargo you come across, but the 2 twin size 5 remote turrets are the best possible use you could put 2 other people to, short of having them in their own ships. For PvE purposes, we want to go with all M-series laser cannons, 5 CA Akura shields, Durango power plants, Chillmax coolers, and a TS2 quantum drive. Something to understand about this lineup is the difference High Alpha Strike makes for the same capacitor energy load, and even against ships with a larger cap and faster recharge. The Corsair and the Constellation both have the same capacitor pool and recharge rate. Because the fire rate allows the damage to be done faster and the charge rate is the same, we're able to get more full cycles of damage output every minute. And even though the A2 has a faster energy regen rate, the smaller nozzle of just 2 guns it can output through limits it. Under this current system, number and size of guns is king. It's also worth mentioning, I know someone's going to ask, why we've stuck with energy weapons. Yes, ballistics can technically kill a target quicker. Instead of recharging, ballistic weapons cool down, which only takes a couple seconds, giving us more damage cycles per minute. The trade-off is that shields reduce that damage by up to 30%, and then the hull reduces the remaining damage by at least 50%. Because that damage bypasses the shield and strikes our theoretical 100k hull directly, the target still dies around 9 seconds or 17% faster. But this is a perfect example of the theory on paper not necessarily fitting the situation in practice. What you have to ask yourself is that extra few seconds you save on your kills worth running out of ammo or having to take reload stops, chancing each time that the landing pad services don't even work? For me, the answer is no. Removing this delay saves you time in the long run. Sometimes you're the victim of circumstance. Sometimes maybe you're just being straight up naughty. All sorts of things can happen when you end up on the wrong side of the law, but there are a few distinctly criminal activities that certain ships lend themselves to very well. As a note, I included illegal mercenary missions such as Vaughn, Tar Pits, Rudo, and others under the ground and space mercenary sections. If that's what your criminal activity consists of, take a look there. These are for other specific purposes. When you think criminal in Star Citizen, much of that time that means keeping a target from escaping, and if you're doing it right, it should be as part of a pirate crew. While we have 3 choices for this, with another potentially coming in the form of the Zeus Mark II, only the RSI Mantis is ideal with its SCM boost of 605, nav max of 1393, and jamming range of 12 kilometers. This speed is not just for catching up to a running target, but for staying in a comfortable, safe range out of the engagement while the rest of a team leads the attack. The Cutlass Blue no longer has this kind of speed, so pushing outside of its meager 4-kilometer jamming range is a possibility for some ships, and while the RSI Scorpius Antares has almost the speed of the Mantis, you have to waste a whole player on its otherwise useless second seat just to press the button. This leaves the Mantis, working as part of a team, as the most reasonable choice. We definitely need to replace the stock components. Mirage shields, Breton power plant, and ultraflow coolers will be our standard, but the Mantis has a 2950-liter quantum fuel tank, allowing us to comfortably use the Spectre quantum drive. We'll replace the missiles with size 1 task forces or pioneers, but the stock FL-33 cannons are actually a great option. In the event you use this ship solo, you can slowly pick your target apart while maintaining extreme range and dodging return fire. If your target tries to run, chances are you can keep up and it'll never leave the 12-kilometer dampening bubble. One staple of doing crime, though, is the high likelihood that you or a teammate end up in the clink, and sometimes the rap sheet is so long that it might just be better to stage an escape. In a case like this, the Anvil Terrapin is your getaway car. Configurable with a pretty low signature despite not being a stealth ship, size 2 shields, and with a boatload of hull hit points in a small package, the Terrapin is my choice for diving into the pit at Klesher for a fast pickup. This is possible, and I've done it with plenty of other ships including the Vanguards, Cutlasses, even the Avengers in a pinch, but the Terrapin's attributes make it your most consistent, least luck-reliant option, and after a quick turnaround for some gear, is still good to continue the quest and park up under the landing pads at Security Post Korea to get those stats wiped clean. Since stealth will save you a lot of trouble with this build, we're going to strip off a couple coolers to bring its signature down to a mere 4800 with shields off. Halter shields, a Genoa power plant, and a single ultraflow cooler will round this out. A Voyage quantum drive will get you a total of 104 gigameters on a tank here, so you can come from just about anywhere, make the pickup, and get to your final destination without having to refuel. However, if you're doing dirt solo, the surest way to stay out of a bounty hunter's crosshairs and out of jail is to make yourself scarce when they show up. While it severely lacks gunfire power, the stealth and speed of the Aegis Saber Raven will give you a frustratingly quick getaway with the recourse to sling missiles from outside detection range. We're going to strip a cooler and a power plant from this build to minimize your detection range just a bit, and turning off your weapons or your shields will drop your EM signature down to match. All told, if you're facing directly towards or away from a pursuer, you shouldn't be detectable until at most 3 kilometers. Probably well under that in practice. Our component replacements are the same: Mirage shields, 1 Breton power plant, 1 ultraflow cooler, and the Voyage quantum drive. My first instinct for this role was to present the Razor EX, which I think is still another option that's good for a number of things, including cracking open and parking inside a cargo ship with its super slim profile. Its IR and biggest cross-section with a similar build will be just shy of 5200 before the stealth bonuses apply. For our industrial buddies, we're only looking at the main ship components here, as the mining lasers, modules, and salvage heads need to be chosen according to your playstyle and the kind of materials you're going after. The best recent guides I've seen for this have been on the YouTube channel of Epic Grey Fox, which I've linked below. Have a look at the videos about mining and salvage there if that's something you want to get into, and you can learn all you need to know about setting up the business end of these moneymakers. Starting with the mining ships, we have the Misk Prospector, which unlike its Salvage entry level, actually uses a size 2 power plant and cooler. We'll want the Genoa and Snowpack for these respectively, along with a Mirage Shield and Voyage Quantum Drive. If you find yourself going far out of the way or covering more distances than an average jump, the Atlas may be a better choice here, though you'll have to go out of your way to get it. And while fighting is the last thing we should be doing in this ship, we're going to swap in a pair of M3A laser cannons so that if we have to hit something, we can make quicker work of it and get back on task. Similarly, the Argo Mole at the next size up has a combination of size 2 and size 3 component needs, which we'll optimize using our best. A pair of halter shields, a Durango power plant, Chillmax cooler, and XL1 quantum drive will set this ship up and hedge it against splash damage from exploding rocks. And we'll drop in a pair of M4A laser cannons. May you never have to use them in this hog. The Drake Vulture is an all-size 1 house. You probably know the drill by now. Mirage shields, Breton power plants, ultraflow coolers, Voyage quantum drive, and size 1 gun mounts replaced with M3A laser cannons. What can I say? The component game is boring right now. Sorry. The Aegis Reclaimer makes things a little more interesting though. The shields we don't need to replace, they're already the ideal 5CA Akuras. The power plant doesn't need to be replaced, it's a bespoke size 4. The coolers, however, do. Let's get a trio of Chillmaxes in there to replace the flawed Mercuries. And the quantum drive. This one can be a point of contention. My first tendency is to suggest the TS2, but many people have told me, and a couple times I've run into it myself, that the fuel tank on the Reclaimer is simply too limited to just go at the fastest, given the limited number of places you can reliably dock this beast. To allow for some wiggle room without sacrificing too much speed, we're going to lean on the military C-grade Pontus. The weaponry gets interesting too, as Reclaimers are typically crude and can thus make use of the turrets. Some groups even run missions in the Reclaimer itself to loot and scrap the wrecks of what they kill. For a case like this, in this build, we're going to mount M5A laser cannons throughout, with M7A cannons on the big must-man gun up top. This can be modified to be a little less unwieldy and a little better suited to your own defense by swapping in the Omniski cannons instead. While PvP in the Persistent universe always has its points of contention, the best tends to float to the top rather reliably, and 3.23.1a is no exception. We have several best ships here, all of them with distinct and different uses. In typical Cloud Imperium fashion, the Anvil F7A Hornet Mark II hit release with a well thought out and balanced combat Okay, I can't. No, they built a ship with the firepower of a solo Hurricane and flight performance of a light fighter and sold it for $175 in a painfully long quest chain. Other Hornets operate similarly and are worth it if you missed the boat on the F7A Mark II sale, but this variant gives you an absurd and overwhelming Alpha Strike advantage that is unfortunately dictating PvP meta at the moment. One weakness the community has latched onto quickly is that of the top and nose F7A mounts, which have extremely low hit points. Errant laser hits, ballistics, missile splash, and more see these mounts going out of commission early in fights, leaving the guns on them useless. Many players have resorted to simply replacing these with Veripucks or other hardier Hornet weapon mounts, sacrificing a bit of the Alpha Strike for the ability to keep Alpha Striking at all. In our build, we're going to leave this in, and you can determine personally whether you run into this problem much, since these base mounts do still give it an edge above the rest. Mirage size 1 shields, Genoa size 2 power plant, Ultraflow size 1 coolers, and Voyage quantum drive will round out this build and help save your system components at least from splash damage. For PvP purposes, we're going to use size 3 and 4 Omniski laser cannons, with the option to go down to light strikes for easier hits at range, or up to M6A, M5As for more challenging shots with a greater Alpha Strike payoff. We're also going to replace the missiles with Dominator 2s to leverage the EM tracking advantage. This brings us to our second ship. In typical Cloud Imperium fashion, the Aegis Saber Firebird hit release with a well thought out and balanced oh god damn it! Yes, as it turns out, if you blast 6 size 3 EM tracking missiles at a smallish target at relatively close range, it's pretty much done, and this can be yours in the midst of this missile-centric meta for just $185 US if you already paid $20 US to subscribe. It even comes with the EM missiles you need. I'm not mad, you're mad. Using this ship to its best does depend on a solid understanding of stealth mechanics and positioning, but it sports a very low detection range. It can do devastating, quick damage to targets you get the drop on, and it has the speed, usually, to get away with it. We just need to optimize by slapping on Mirage shields, Breton power plants, Ultraflow coolers, and a Voyage quantum drive. It also can't hurt to swap out the size 3 guns for Omniski 9s. The missile rack with 24 Thunderbolt 3s is already good to go. And our third ship is a bit larger. In typical Cloud Imperium fashion, okay, kidding this time, but seriously, the Drake Corsair comes up once again as an insane single-seat heavy hitter in the PvP category. And while you're not personally going to dogfight with it per se, you'll have plenty of opportunity in a busy fight to blindside someone a teammate is fighting with its 6 big guns. And while the size 3 shield buys you all the time you need from individual threats. And before you even get to that point, your missile racks will be turning the tide. As with our other Corsair builds, the stock shield is fine and will replace the power plants with Genoas, the coolers with snowpacks, the quantum drive with an XL1, and the missiles with MSD 481 racks loaded with Task Force or Pioneer 1 missiles. For this build, we could keep the stock M7A and M6A guns if you think you'll be fighting a big target, but if you think you'll be called to support a fighter brawl, swapping them all for the size 5 and 4 variants of Omniskis or Light Strikes will give you a much easier time hitting small targets. You shouldn't be bringing anyone on board to man the turrets, but just in case, we'll swap these for Omniskis as well. But what about the Buccaneer? Okay, runner-up, but only just. F7A Mark II is still going to slap into it next week. Gladius, Arrow, Blade, or Talon? We're not in Light Fighter meta anymore. F8C Lightning? It's only okay in Atmo, and a missile magnet everywhere. Talon Shrike? Actually, sure, it also has 24 size 3 missiles. Build it out the same as the Firebird as an alternative. That should cover it. If you said anything else, you were already wrong. Welcome to PvP. It has to be said up front. While Multicrew is in a slightly better position for PvP, it's still far from ideal, and it's more valuable to have your extra players in separate ships than in turrets. The smaller Multicrew ships, like the Vanguards, Cutlasses, and so on, can't keep pace with fighters, and the larger ones can be sniped from outside the effective range of their turrets because of the target size and maneuverability differences. But if you have players who just really don't belong in a pilot seat, these are the ships to put them in. Although the Aegis Hammerhead's turrets can certainly shred something that gets too close and will have that opportunity when they get close to a larger ship, smaller ships keeping distance can make them mostly ineffective. That's where the Hammerhead's massive size 5 missile racks come in, giving it room for 8 size 5 torpedoes, 32 size 3 missiles, 64 size 2 missiles, or a combination of all of them. Its ordnance alone means opposition won't be able to ignore it, and if it decides to park on a particular spot of interest, it takes up a space that has to be considered very carefully. The Hammerhead will need Chillmax coolers and Durango power plants to replace defective, low HP stock components, and although the stock shields are fine, we can optimize with 2 5CA Akuras. The stock quantum drive, however, is abysmal. Get a TS2 in here as soon as possible. We'll give ourselves 2 torpedoes to play with against large targets and fill the rest with Thunderbolt 3s, which are particularly powerful right now as the Sabre Firebird has been demonstrating. With a projectile speed of 1800 meters a second, the CF447 repeaters, stock-loaded on all turrets, are not a bad choice. In fact, one with its head on a swivel will give your crew a chance to save the ship if your opponents target you with torpedoes. But let's say we're building this to rush and deal with other large or multi-crew ships. Switching some or all of them to any variety of size 4 laser cannon, particularly the heavy-hitting M6As, would be a great move and give your crew a decisive edge against the same ship with a stock loadout. Go with Deadbolt 4s if you want to strike past shields, but be aware that these are on the low end of projectile speed, and when the ammo runs out, that turret is done until you land and reload. For similar reasons as the Space Bounty list, the Crusader A2 Hercules shows up as perhaps the best ship that a pilot and 2 gunners can man, leveraging the total power of 6 size 5 guns at once, 2 size 3 shields, and a tough-as-nails hull. Like our Mercenary mission build, we'll want to replace the stock components with 5CA Akura shields, Durango power plants, Chillmax coolers, and a TS2 quantum drive. But like the Hammerhead build, we'll want to consider the targets we're going against when picking our guns. If we're looking to support and third party for a larger group of fighters, leaning towards the faster projectile speed of the Omniski or Light Strike cannons will be our best option. If we expect heavier targets, we'll stick with the M-series laser cannons. Until this year, the Anvil Hurricane was the quintessential 2-player heavy fighter and held serious sway on the PvP battlefield. Now its stats match its flavor text, Glass Cannon, and it falls apart notoriously easily. The RSI Scorpius has supplanted it as the best, both in terms of durability and firepower, with a total of 8 size 3 guns between the pilot and gunner. This highly detectable fighter may still easily become a missile magnet, but it can at least threaten 2 directions at once or focus a target down with slightly more total firepower than an F7A Mark II. The stock shield and power plant are of the broken variety, so we'll want to swap in a size 2 halter and 2 size 1 Bretons with 2 size 1 ultraflows just to optimize, and of course a Voyage quantum drive to fit this thing's small tank. In keeping with current PvP meta, we'll replace all the guns with Omniski 9s and the size 2 missile hardpoints with Dominator 2s. Going after player bounties is tough. Most player bounty targets, if they aren't baiting bounty hunters into a trap, are not sitting around looking to take a fair fight. That means you either need an approach that can hold them down for that fight, hold them down for others to fight, or hit them so fast they hopefully don't have a chance to run. The RSI Mantis shines mainly as part of a team, as we talked about in the criminal activity category, and the same holds true here. Stock components need replacement. Mirage shields, Breton power plant, and ultraflow coolers will be our standard, and a Spectre quantum drive for the massive quantum fuel tank. We'll replace the missiles with size 1 task forces or pioneers, and as before, the stock FL-33 cannons are pretty good. In the event you use this ship solo rather than as part of a team, you can slowly pick your target apart while maintaining extreme range and dodging return fire well inside the 12-kilometer dampening bubble. Be aware of the kind of target you're fighting though, as the Mantis is highly susceptible to missiles. The Drake Cutlass Blue, as I mentioned above, isn't ideal for chasing things down anymore, but it is a tougher, more stand-up fighter than the Mantis, and has a serious bank of missiles to throw at a target on approach or when it's on the run. Expect faster target ships to make a break for it and need those missiles, but if you catch a slower one, you'll have the option to play within the 4-kilometer bubble and exhaust your missiles in the hopes of a component kill before you have to get up close and personal. We'll take a Halter shield, Genoa power plant, snowpack coolers, and an XL1 drive. For weapons, we'll play for distance with the FL-33 or light strike laser cannons, and a full bank of 48 size 1 task force or pioneer missiles. I told you you'd see it again. The Drake Corsair, of course, is a great all-around option as well, and it particularly shines when you catch your target unawares at extremely close range at an OM or other quantum dropout point. I've had the guns finish the job many times on a small ship before they had a chance to react. Failing that, you've got a rack of potentially 32 size 1 missiles on the wing. Use the same build as the Corsairs above, 5CA Akura shield, Genoa power plants, snowpack coolers, and XL1 quantum drive, and lean into the high damage surprise alpha strike of the M-series laser cannons to use this ship to its best. I almost missed this category entirely, but some discussion with the brains at Shadow Moses showed me how much more complex dropship selection can be. Our first option has been a long time coming, the Drake Cutlass Steel. I know, I'm as shocked as you are. Not only does it bring massively buffed hit points, but the distribution has also strengthened the external engines, a traditional weak point on other Cutlass variants. The wide exit areas of the rear ramp and side doors give passengers room to get clear fast with minimal fuss. It's even possible to strip the ship down somewhat for stealth, which brings the IR under 7,000 with a best case detectability of 6,300 meters, but my instinct is that it's better to stay armed up and maintain a battlefield presence with the numerous missile racks. Stock components need replacement with Halter shields, Genoa power plants, snowpack coolers, and an XL1 drive. A second option, which can by all means still drop right on the target if there's room, is the Constellation Andromeda, but its main purpose isn't going to the ground and it may struggle during a pickup phase. It too can hold significant battlefield space with its large guns and size 1 and 2 missile bay, but its cargo elevator makes for a reliable platform for bikes like the Dragonfly and Pulse to deploy personnel mid-flight. Its 5CA Akura shield is fine, so we'll just replace the power plant with a Genoa, the coolers with snowpacks, and the quantum drive with an XL1. You'll want Dominator 2s and either Task Force or Pioneer 1s in the missile bay, and most likely M-series, Omniski, or light strike cannons on the nose, depending on what you're fighting in the area. Finally, we have a stealth option, which despite having no actual stealth hull bonus, is filled best by the Anvil Terrapin, the very same build that we used above for pickup from Klesher. This is where we strip a couple of coolers to bring its signature down to just 4,800 with shields off. Halter shields, a Genoa power plant, and a single ultraflow cooler. A Voyage quantum drive will give you a total of 104 gigameters on a tank. For this category, I also had to honorably mention a couple of alternatives. The Aegis Retaliator has legendary tankiness and for multiple patches has been known for safely landing crews on the ground despite being detected early and under fire all the way in. With the addition of the cargo bays, it even has room now to bring vehicles or airdrop bikes like the Constellation. There's some question as to how reliable this is, but some more time, patching, and testing should allow it to prove itself on that front. The Experia Prowler also surfaces regularly, with users praising its fast door animations and high overall hit points, though the nose remains a somewhat weak point in an otherwise large hit point pool. It's expected that in the next patch its stealthiness is also going to receive some kind of buff, which we'll be watching and waiting for to see if it supplants the Terrapin. Let me know in the comments below how you would build out these alternative ships based on what you've learned about components. We'll be back after 3.24 with an update on how things have changed, and if you'd like to join in the discussion, drop into our community Discord using the link in the description. While you're down there, let me know in the comments what I missed and which ships and builds you think deserve a spot on the shortlists, or if I missed an important category entirely. Thanks once again to our fantastic YouTube members and Patreon backers who voted for this video, and our community on Discord who broke the tie, and stay tuned for July's vote. Thanks for watching. Class dismissed. Its cargo elevator makes for a reliable platform for bikes like the Dragonfly and Pulse to deploy personnel mid-flight.